Now, from WYDC TV, this is Big Fox News at 10.
Tonight, local health officials and politicians are calling on Governor Hochul to adjust the state's vaccine mandate for healthcare workers. They have until September 27th to get vaccinated or be fired. Big Fox's Matt Kleindinst spoke with a local hospital about that approaching deadline.
Good evening, Andy. Executive Vice President of Guthrie tells me that most of their employees are fully vaccinated against COVID. However, he is worried about the looming deadline for the unvaccinated minority.
So we're concerned about the 27th.
In a little under 2 weeks, all New York healthcare workers will be required to have at least one dose of the COVID vaccine. While most Guthrie employees are vaccinated, Dr. Michael Scalzone says a minority of unvaccinated workers have voiced their frustration.
We have had some people who have let us know that they intend to resign. We don't know if that's going to actually happen, but they've let us know that that's their intention.
Local county health officials and politicians have called on the governor to loosen the mandate, fearing that a hard mandate will worsen the nursing labor shortage.
I know the mandate was put in place. It was well-meaning, well-intentioned, but you have to look beyond that at the potential public health crisis this is going to cause.
Dr. Scalzone says that vaccinations are the best way to stop the spread of COVID. However, he does support allowing unvaccinated healthcare workers to submit to weekly testing.
If there is a segment of the population that vaccination is not correct for, whether it's medically or for religious reasons, let's use the next best tool we have to try to prevent infection. None of these strategies are perfect, but the more that we can sort of layer on, the better it would be.
The deadline for healthcare workers is on September 27th. Matt Kleindinst, Big Fox, WYDC in Corning.
New census data shows that the coronavirus pandemic caused poverty to go up in 2020. Last year, about 11.4% of Americans were living in poverty. In 2019, it was just 10.5%, the lowest level since record-keeping began in 1959. 3.3 million additional people fell below the poverty line last year, for a total of roughly 37.2 million. Millions of people lost their jobs due to pandemic-related shutdowns and mandatory closures of non-essential businesses. Teen smoking rates in New York have fallen to an all-time low, according to the State Department of Health. According to a survey released on Monday, less than 3% of high schoolers say they've smoked in the last month, nearly a 25% decrease since 2000. E-cigarette use has surpassed cigarette use among teens. However, that has decreased by 5% since 2018. The DOH credits the decline to several factors, including increasing the legal age to buy tobacco products in New York and banning the sale of flavored e-liquids. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken is once again facing questions from lawmakers on Capitol Hill over the Biden administration's withdrawal of troops from Afghanistan. On Monday, Republicans called on the secretary to resign and demanded someone from the administration take responsibility for what they believe was a complete failure. Madeline Rivera has more reaction from Washington.
Secretary of State Antony Blinken back in the hot seat on Capitol Hill.
Who made the decisions on this? Was it the President of the United States?
Ultimately, the president makes the decisions. That's correct.
He's facing a barrage of criticism, with several Republicans Monday calling for him to step down after the chaotic U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan.
Simply put,
I do not wish to hear from you. I'm not
simply
yielding you a
put,
moment
Congressman,
of time.
what you've said is dead wrong.
I don't wish to hear your lies.
Democrats, though, are blaming the Trump administration for a peace deal it had made with the Taliban to pull out U.S. troops by May. The Trump deal also reduced the number of U.S. troops to 2,500, leaving the Biden administration with a tough choice, Blinken says.
There's no evidence that staying longer would have made the Afghan security forces or the Afghan government any more resilient or self-sustaining.
Blinken adds they're continuing to help the roughly 100 Americans, several thousand green card holders, and Afghan allies who want to leave the country, with veteran groups also helping those stranded.
My plan is to continue to try to get the Taliban to give us flight clearance so that I can get these planes off the ground.
Blinken is appearing in person for the hearing today after being criticized for showing up virtually yesterday. In Washington, Madeline Rivera, Fox News.
Nicholas moves ashore, bringing heavy rain and high winds to Texas and Louisiana. The storm is expected to drench that region for much of the week. Robert Ray has more.
Nicholas made landfall along the Texas coast this morning. The storm briefly strengthened into a Category 1 hurricane, packing 75-mile-per-hour winds and knocking out power to thousands of homes and businesses in the Houston area. Strong gusts down trees and spread debris onto streets.
We've had some area flooding. Several of the neighborhoods have trees down blocking the roadways. We do have some debris from buildings that are blocking the roadways.
Nicholas has weakened to tropical storm status as it slowly makes its way over southeast Texas. People across the region are bracing for isolated tornadoes and life-threatening flash flooding. Water washing out streets in some neighborhoods. Between 5 to 10 inches of rain is expected along the mid-Texas coast and in southern Louisiana over the next few days.
Just in case I ran out of gas, I have a little stove outside so I can be able to cook for the family. And then our tub is full of water and we're just ready.
In the Houston area, local officials deployed high water rescue vehicles throughout the city in case of any emergencies. Dozens of barricades have been set up to protect flood-prone locations.
So right now what we're doing is obviously doing the risk of the damage assessments throughout the city, identifying what areas are going to need, what areas have been damaged, obviously what areas are needing the electricity to come back on.
President Biden approved an emergency declaration in Louisiana ahead of the storm's arrival. In Galveston, Texas, Robert Ray, Fox Weather.
One teenager died and another was injured after a shooting at a haunted hayride in Pennsylvania. Amy Hudak spoke with one of the teenager's friends about what happened.
Friends was at the hayride and they called me saying, Steve's gone, and called my grandma. She was crying, I was crying, throwing up, couldn't even sleep.
Damon Johnson has known his friend and classmate Steven Eason since 6th grade.
Funny, he was curious, he was definitely a good kid. He was like a younger brother to me, even though we was like in the same grade, because I knew him for so long.
15-year-old Steven Eason was murdered Saturday night, shot in the chest and stomach when police say he tried to intervene in a fight involving another teen he knew. Police say a suspect pulled out a gun and shot both 15-year-olds before slipping away through a screaming crowd of families and into the night.
So when the shooting occurred, half of the people that were gathering in that area ran towards the parking lot. The half ran towards the trail, and staff, it was a chaotic scene, but staff tried to get people out of the area towards the trails and then out towards the parking lot.
Eason lived in Penn Hills, but was a student at Central Catholic High School. The principal telling Channel 11 the Central Catholic community is deeply saddened by this tragic loss. Steven was a dedicated student, a talented member of the track team, and a blessing to have at Central Catholic. He will be deeply missed by all of us at Central Catholic, and we offer our condolences and prayers to his family and friends. The other teen shot is a Penn Hills High School student. He was in critical condition Saturday night, but overnight he improved to stable condition. The district not releasing his name, but sharing this statement. Penn Hills High School will have counselors on standby for students who need support following an incident in North Versailles that led to the injury of a Penn Hills High School student and the death of a Central Catholic student whose family resides in Penn Hills. The search now continues for the suspect. Police say he's between 15 and 17 years old, roughly 6 feet tall, and wearing all dark clothing.
It's a shame. I mean, you try to have something that's nice for the community and for, kids to go and have a good time, then you have something like this come along and just spoil it. It's a shame.
4 former Minneapolis police officers are pleading not guilty to charges stemming from the George Floyd case. Derek Chauvin, To Tao, J. Alexander Keyoung, and Thomas Lane were arraigned on federal civil rights charges Tuesday. Chauvin is accused of depriving Floyd of the right to be free from unreasonable seizure and unreasonable force by a police officer. He is already in prison serving a 22.5-year sentence for the murder of Floyd during their encounter in 2020. Tao and Keyoung are accused of failing to intervene in the case. All 4 ex-officers are also charged with failing to give Floyd medical aid. The Justice Department is tackling police reform within its own organization. Today, the DOJ released a memo announcing several reform measures for its federal law enforcement officers. That includes prohibiting federal officers from using chokeholds and carotid restraints unless deadly force is authorized. It also limits the use of no-knock entries. The DOJ says it has re-examined the use of such techniques, quote, in the wake of a number of recent tragedies. The NYPD is looking for a man caught on camera kicking a woman down an escalator at a Brooklyn subway station. NJ Perget spoke to the victim, who says she's traumatized.
I've fallen down stairs before, but I've never fallen down escalators. Escalators are extremely painful.
It happened moments after she stepped off the subway. As she rode up the escalator to the street, a man pushed his way past. The victim told him he should have said, "Excuse me." And in this video, you can see what happens next. He turns around and kicks her down the stairs.
Like, kicked me out of nowhere in my chest, and I just came tumbling down the escalator past everyone all the way to the bottom floor.
The victim is 32 years old and asked us not to use her name or to show her face. But she showed us her injuries, cuts and bruises to her legs and across her arms and back. Police released this surveillance image of the suspect. It happened at 7:15 p.m. last Thursday on the up escalator outside the Barclays Center.
He goes by you, brushes by you. You turn around and say, "Hey."
Say, excuse me. Yeah, it's the New York thing.
And that was it?
Yeah, that was it. And then just out of nowhere, he felt the need to have to kick me down the stairs. You know, like as if I had the audacity to address him and tell him to say, "Excuse me." In that moment, he felt like he just had to just kick me down.
The victim says the experience has left her traumatized, and she's worried tonight because the suspect remains at large 4 days later.
It was traumatic, it was scary.
Because it just happened out of nowhere, right?
Yeah, and seeing him, and also like, his physical stature, you know, he looks pretty dangerous, and just being around someone that looks like that makes me feel vulnerable.
The Elmira City Council approving a deal to keep the Elmira Pioneers at Dunn Field. The council voted 6-1 to extend the team lease for 5 more years. As part of the deal, the city will invest in improvements to the stadium and will split gas and electric expenses with the team. The Pioneers have played at Dunn Field since 1888. Still ahead tonight, inbound to the U.S., Afghans seeking refuge, but now a new warning for anyone exposed to measles, whether on board, in an airport, or in a hospital or hotel.
We want the people who work on these bases and the families who live there to know how seriously we're taking it.
More on what you need to know about measles and how officials are working to immunize evacuees before they arrive.
Here's your local stock market update from Big Fox. Now, your Twin Tiers forecast from Big Fox.
Your Big Fox forecast is brought to you by William Mattar. Good evening, everyone. Clouds will continue to thicken tonight as a storm system approaches. We've been tracking the system since it was in the high plains. It will continue to shift to the east. We are in the warm sector of the system, so you probably noticed it felt a little bit more muggy today, and it was a little bit warmer with highs in the 80s. Once this cold front approaches, we are expecting our chances of rain to increase. And then behind that front, temperatures will be a little bit cooler and it will be a little bit drier. So that cold front will slice through the state of New York tomorrow, and we are going to be on the front end of it. And so we are expecting some heavy rain as moisture streams northward, as again, we are going to be in that warm and humid sector of the system. So it's going to be a warm day in general. However, once this cold front comes through, expect gusty conditions and temperatures will be a little bit cooler for the end of the week. So here's a look at your planner for tomorrow. Temperatures will climb up to around 75 degrees by 11 o'clock with the possibility of a few thunderstorms. And some of these thunderstorms will bring some heavy rain in a short period of time. So there could be some flash flooding. In addition to that, some of these thunderstorms could be strong, producing damaging wind gusts. So just be weather aware as we head into your Wednesday. There will be a line of thunderstorms that will form out ahead of that front. And again, as it moves through, we are expecting a very strong winds. So Our models are indicating that front will continue to stay in the Great Lakes region for tonight, but notice these showers and thunderstorms developing out ahead of it. The line won't be quite as strong early tomorrow morning, and still, though, there will be a few showers and thunderstorms that will be marching through our hometowns as we make our way into the afternoon. As this line encounters the humid air and that warm air, it is going to bring more chances of rain, or is really just going to kick up those thunderstorms. And so with these thunderstorms, there is the potential of some heavy rain across many of our hometowns, especially on this southern tier. So by 1 o'clock, showers and thunderstorms continue, and at 7 o'clock, our models are indicating the rain will stick around. And then by Thursday, I think all this will be ending. We'll start off with mostly cloudy conditions, but I think there should be plenty of sunshine by the end of the day. So as we make our way toward the end of the week, we are expecting high pressure to build in, so it is going to be a little bit drier. However, we have another system that will come through that will bring the chances of rain back by the end of the weekend and into early next week. So here's a look at your forecast. Tonight, we drop down to around 67 degrees in Elmira, a little bit warmer in Corning at around 69, 70 degrees in Watkins Glen. Highs tomorrow will be very close to normal, 78 degrees in Corning, but cooler in Perkinsville at 74 degrees. We are expecting drier conditions for the end of the week.
There's a temporary halt on all flights of Afghan evacuees coming into the country after cases of the measles were found in 5 people who had recently arrived in the U.S. While officials are working to notify anyone who may have been exposed at an airport, hospital, or hotel, health experts say the highly contagious virus is almost entirely preventable through vaccination. Mandy Gaither has more on what you need to know about measles in today's Health Minute.
Inbound to the U.S., Afghans seeking refuge, but now a warning for anyone potentially exposed, whether on board, in an airport, hospital, or hotel. Cases of measles were found in 5 people who recently arrived in the U.S.
We want the people who work on these bases and the families who live there to know how seriously we're taking it.
All flights of Afghan evacuees into the U.S. have been halted for at least a week. The Department of Defense says they're working to immunize evacuees before they arrive. Those infected are being housed separately and are getting medical care as contact tracing continues, and some are asked to quarantine.
If somebody has measles around you and you are not vaccinated, you have a 90% chance of getting measles.
Dr. Nora Colburn, an infectious diseases specialist at the Ohio State Wexner Medical Center, says those most at risk are children who haven't been fully vaccinated and those who are immunocompromised. The CDC says measles is one of the most contagious diseases in the world. While the virus was eliminated in the U.S. in 2000, recent declines in measles vaccinations have caused cases of this vaccine-preventable disease to rebound.
It's characterized by fever, cough, conjunctivitis, which is redness around the eyes, and a fine rash.
The CDC says measles can be dangerous, especially for babies and young children. Dr. Colburn says it's preventable with vaccination.
It's heartbreaking. Nobody should have to die of this disease.
For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
A reunion more than a decade in the making. A Florida mom was back with her daughter after her daughter was kidnapped 14 years ago. Nikki Zizaza reports on how Florida sheriff's detectives played a role in getting the family back together.
Claremont police detectives say it's a cold case closer to justice. It began on December 22, 2007, when Angelica Salgado reported her 6-year-old daughter, Jacqueline Hernandez, was abducted from her Lake County home. It would take 14 years, a social media message, and a multi-agency effort to reunite the mother and daughter. On Monday, Claremont police announced Salgado called the station to report she received a message from a woman identifying herself as Jacqueline, indicating she was in Mexico and wanted to meet at the border in Texas on September 10. On that day, with assistance from Orange County Sheriff's Office, Homeland Security, Laredo Police Department, and ICE, investigators say Salgado showed up in anticipation of a reunion. Detectives say documents provided by Salgado and Claremont police prove Jacqueline was indeed her now 19-year-old daughter, abducted 14 years earlier.
Amazon is joining a growing list of retailers offering education benefits to its employees. The online retailer is now offering to cover 100% of the cost of tuition as it battles for workers in a tight U.S. labor market. And economists say this is a new trend in retail, with more companies dangling the prospect of a free college education as a way to attract and retain much-needed hourly workers. Jen Sullivan takes a closer look.
1, 2, 3, Amazon!
Free tuition delivered by Amazon. The e-commerce giant is joining a growing list of retailers offering educational benefits to its employees.
I think that this is a positive approach. It's going to potentially attract stronger workers.
Starting in January, Amazon says it will pay the full cost of college tuition, including books and fees for any of its 750,000 hourly U.S. employees wanting to pursue associate's or bachelor's degrees.
They didn't graduate from college yet, but that is definitely one of my goals in the near future.
The online retailer isn't the only U.S. company offering these types of perks. Amazon's competitors, like Walmart and Target, had previously announced similar programs. Last month, Target rolled out a program that covers the cost of undergrad degrees at select schools. And in July, Walmart announced it would pay 100% of college tuition for Walmart and Sam's Club's associates.
They may end up just competing against each other for more and more benefits and wages for the same shrinking pool of workers.
Amazon's announcement comes as retailers around the country face challenges hiring employees to staff stores and warehouses. Economists say dangling these types of perks is directly in response to the tight job market. They say it will help retain and attract more hourly employees.
This is a way for them to compete without necessarily having to raise wages as much as they would.
For today's Consumer Watch, I'm Jen Sullivan.
A Massachusetts woman discovers her inner Janis Joplin. Terry Hafner Riley started singing karaoke during the COVID-19 pandemic and slowly became an internet sensation. Liam Martin reports.
So this is your recording studio?
Yes.
Terry Hafner Riley has become a local internet sensation.
And then this is my mic.
From her living room.
And when you started, you were just singing into a phone. And now you've got the microphone, the pedal, some speakers.
And then this is my little stand that I use now to get a decent angle.
The 53-year-old grandmother is a veteran and a teaching assistant in Quincy, but her secret dream since childhood has been to sing.
I'd stand at the top of the stairs and sing out loud. It's silly, but as a kid, obviously, it's things that you dream about.
Little did Terry know the pandemic would give her that opportunity when a friend suggested she try this new page on Facebook.
Yeah, so this is quarantine karaoke.
Mm-hmm.
And from quarantine in her pajamas, she started belting out hits. With a little Janis Joplin and a little Stevie Nicks in her voice, she quickly exploded in popularity.
You know you can't hold me forever. I didn't sign up with you.
I couldn't even keep up with the comments because I like to reply to every single one. Not necessarily reply, but at least like their comment and stuff. And I just couldn't even keep up. I just kept hearing prum, 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 prum. And I'm like...
In fact, she's now a featured singer on the page, but still gets nervous when she has to sing live.
Are you going to be nervous for us?
Yes, of course. But I'm going to put on a show.
And boy, did she, with a little Rod Stewart.
I don't wanna talk about it, how you broke my heart.
Unfortunately, she also asked me to sing with her for a bit.
So are you going to prove something to me? What can you do?
No, God, no. God, no.
And I learned Terry can be persuasive.
It cannot wait. I'm yours.
Burn that footage immediately.
We want to leave you with a smile tonight. An incredible and incredibly rare sight captured off the coast of Australia. A megapod of humpback whales, more than 100 strong, was caught on camera surrounding a boat near a town south of Sydney. A tour company was leading a training exercise when the whales appeared, slapping their tails on the water, herding fish in a feeding frenzy. The company's owner said the migrating whales he's seen this year have been feeding a lot. He also said such a rare mass megapod of humpbacks has only ever been seen once before in the country's waters. Thanks for joining us. Have a great night.